Japanese beetle. Don't know if you've heard the news, but Japanese beetle down in the Boise area is public enemy #1 as far as we're concerned. We're spending a lot of time and a lot of money on Japanese beetle. As I mentioned earlier on when I was talking about the classic invasive insects, Japanese beetle was one of them. You know, most insect pests feed on a few kinds of plants at one stage in their life. You know, squash bugs feed on squash, cucumbers, pumpkins. Codling moth feeds on apples when it's a caterpillar. Japanese beetle is the ultimate invasive insect. When it's a grub, it lives in the ground, it chews on the roots of grass, can kill lawns, parks, you know, any place that's got big grassy areas. If they get in there in big numbers, it can decimate them. But that's not all. Then the adults hatch out. And the adults feed on over 300 different kinds of trees and bushes. They especially love rose bushes, fruit trees, berry bushes. So it's a pest for all seasons. The grub's killing grass, the adults are killing all kinds of agricultural and garden plants. So it's a bad thing. It has one generation a year. As I said earlier on, the adults come out in around June and July, and they're flying then. And they lay their eggs when the adults are flying. The eggs hatch, and the grubs are feeding on the grass roots throughout the summer. Go from a little tiny grub to a big grub. By the end of the summer, it's a full-grown grub, and then they burrow down into the ground and stay there during the winter. And then in the spring, when it warms up, they dig up closer to the surface, make the pupa, and they're in the pupa for about a month, and then the adults hatch out again, and the cycle starts over again. So it's one generation a year. The adults, when they feed on plant foliage, they chew on leaves and leave veins behind. This is called skeletonization. That's the classic damage of Japanese beetles. They also like to feed on flowers and fruit. One Japanese beetle will land like on a rose, start eating on it, and it gives off a scent called an aggregation pheromone that attracts other Japanese beetles in the area to come feed with it. Let's have a big party. So out in the east, you'll see roses or an apple or peach or something just encrusted with these beetles just chewing away at it. The grubs feeding under the soil chew off the roots of the grass, and if there aren't that many grubs, you don't notice them. If the numbers start building up, you'll see brown patches in the grass. And if they get really bad, like on the bottom left here, you can grab the grass and just lift it up like a carpet because all the roots of the grass are just sheared off. And then you know the grass is going to die. It doesn't have roots. So, they are firmly established in the east. Out in the west, they can't really survive in most areas in the west because it's too dry for them. Remember I was talking about the abiotic factors we're concerned with? Moisture is one of them. In the east, there's about 50 inches of rain a year. Japanese beetle love it. Out here, you get about 12 inches of rain a year. So in most of the areas, it's too dry for them to survive. But in downtown Boise, where you've got big gardens and yards that get watered all the time, it's like a miniature New Jersey down there. So the habitat is right that if Japanese beetle got transported from out east and ended up in a yard downtown Boise instead of in the high desert, it could survive and thrive there. So knowing that, we've been putting out traps all over the state for the past 22 years. Just keep in check, you know, in case any Japanese beetles get moved out here, we want to know about it as soon as we can. So here, on the left, every year, every once in a while, they might catch one beetle in the trap. Most years, 0. In 2012, in some of the traps in Boise, they caught 56 beetles, as opposed to 0.00000. 56 was not good news. And they said, it looks like somebody might have transported some beetles here. We may have a problem. We're going to bump up the number of traps in Boise next year and start thinking about an eradication program if we catch more beetles. You know, this 56 increases in number, we might have a problem. Put out the traps in 2013. They didn't catch 56, they got 3,058. There's an indication of this is what an invasive species does when it gets into an area. So they said, we've got a bad problem, we've got to set up an eradication program and try and get rid of Japanese beetle out of Boise before it spreads to the rest of the state. The first year, this is downtown Boise, and we treated 100 areas in that red area there. We treated 100 properties where most of the beetles were caught, and they also treated some of the parks. And then next year, we expanded that out and treated a little more area, 500 properties in that blue, and some parks, because we said they're spreading. We went from 56 to 3,000, they're spreading. We got to treat. So we treated that small area in 2013, a little bit bigger area in 2014. And are we having any effect? Well, the good news is, say in 2013, we caught 3,000 beetles. We treated the heart of the infestation. The next year, we were down to 1,300 beetles. So that showed that it's doing some good. Right in that one area, that 100 properties that we treated, we caught 1,900 beetles there in the year that we treated. The next year, we caught 91. So that was really good news. Also, everything in our parks that we treated had come down some. But we still had 1,300 beetles, so they're still out there, and they're still spreading. So this year, we'll be treating more, we'll be treating bigger areas. But we hope if we can get the knockdown like we got the first year, that given 5 or 6 years of treatment, we might be able to get this eradicated out of Boise before it spreads to the rest. So that's Japanese beetles, our public enemy number one. I don't know if you've heard about elm seed bug. This is public nuisance number one. It's in Boise. I get a lot of calls about it in the summer. I don't think you guys have it up here yet. That's what it looks like. If you're familiar with box elder bugs, kind of looks like a little box elder bug. Now the elm seed bug, I like to call our claim to fame for invasive insects. Because most of these talks I give, I'm telling you about how the Japanese beetle came into the east and spread out here, and gypsy moth came into the east and spread out here. Lots of these pests came from Florida, California, spread up here. This elm seed bug, the first ones were turned in to Cooperative Extension in 2009. Somebody caught some in Ada County and said, "What the heck are these? I've never seen them." They took them to Cooperative Extension. They said, "I've never seen anything like this. We'll send them up to U of I and see if they know." Send them to U of I, and they said they'd never seen anything like that. They sent them to the Smithsonian. In 2012, Smithsonian came back and said, "Oh yeah, these are elm seed bugs. They're common in Italy, but they've never been found in the United States." Well, we found them in Canyon County. So somehow they got transported from Italy into Canyon County, got established there, and they've been spreading ever since. So the first year they were in Canyon and Ada, and then they spread out a little farther, and they spread out a little farther. And by 2013 they were in Malheur County in Oregon. And last summer they were in Portland, Oregon. And they were in Wenatchee, Washington, and Provo, Utah. So I imagine a few years from now there'll be somebody like me giving a talk like this in Tennessee and going, "We've got this new problem here in Tennessee called elm seed bug, and it came from Idaho." But as I've given this talk before, somebody pointed out to me that our saving grace will be when they're giving that talk, they'll probably go, "Got this elm seed bug and it came out here from Iowa." And So that's, we're always getting confused. This will be to our benefit. But elm seed bug is spreading, and down in Boise, in that area, I get calls in summer. For an insect that was never found in the U.S., I get calls from people saying, I've got these things all over my yard and all over my house. They're here by the thousands. They're coming in the windows. They're crawling in my furniture. I have to vacuum my bed out at night. And so they're bad. But they're not an agricultural pest. They don't feed on anything except elm seeds. They don't carry the human diseases. So there hasn't been as big an impetus to control them as there is with Japanese beetle. Japanese beetle would, if it got into our orchards or whatever, it would decimate things. Elm seed bug, I feel sorry for the people that have to vacuum their bed out at night, but at this point it's kind of a low priority for throwing money at it because they don't really do any economic damage other than the people that want to move out of their house because their house is so full of them. Here's another insect pest that came into the east called the brown marmorated stink bug, and it got established in the east back in 1998, not too long ago. It is a stink bug, and most people know what a stink bug looks like. It feeds on fruits and vegetables, gets in orchards and stuff. It can really create a lot of damage. It goes into people's houses during the winter and clusters in their houses to overwinter, and stink bugs stink, so people don't like that. Here's the map. Like I say, it was first found in Pennsylvania in 1998, and since then it's moved all the way out to Oregon. Every place that's yellow or purple, they found it. So they've got it in Oregon. It looks like that, and the tricky part is, a lot of stink bugs look alike. We have a bunch of native stink bugs that look kind of like the brown marmorated stink bug. So this is a case of where I get people bringing stink bugs into me all summer, saying, I think I got a brown marmorated stink bug, and I look at it and figure out why it isn't. And so thanks for bringing it in. I appreciate it. Keep your eyes open, because we are worried about it. But this is not it. But in October, end of October, somebody brought me one from downtown Boise, and so prepared to show them why it was not a brown marmorated stink bug, but it was. So we got our first confirmed brown marmorated stink bug in Boise this past October. So we'll be going out, putting out traps, trying to find out if they're established and where they are. Because if they're in the east and they're in Oregon, it's only a matter of time before they show up in Idaho. But we want to get on it as quick as we can if they're there. This is another pest called the spotted winged Drosophila. And everybody's familiar with vinegar flies or fruit flies. You have rotting fruit on your counter in the kitchen. You got these little flies flying around. They're there, they're a bother, but they're not a problem. They eat rotting fruit. So you toss the rotting fruit, problem solved. We've got this new guy in the US called spotted winged Drosophila, and it feeds on fruit. Its maggot crawls in fruit and feeds on it. But the problem is, most fruit flies, their tail just has a little rounded edge and lays its eggs in rotting fruit. The fruit's all mushy, can lay its eggs in there. This guy's come along, and its ovipositor, which is on the right, instead of just having a little thing that it can lay its eggs in rotting fruit, it has a serrated knife edge along its ovipositor, so it can land on fresh fruit, or fruit that's not even ripe yet, can slice a hole in that fruit with a serrated edge and lay its egg in that fruit. And then the maggots eat that good fruit. So when we just had these things that fed on rotting fruit, people with orchards, no problem, just feeding on fruit that fell off trees, I'm not going to sell that anyway. But this new guy comes in, and it can attack the fruit that's on the tree, destroy that fruit, and suddenly it's a big economic problem. To the left is what a normal fruit fly ovipositor looks like, and on the right is what spotted winged Drosophila looks like. can slice right into that fruit. And it feeds on a lot of different kinds of fruit, wild, and so you can have little pools of it in wild areas. It just doesn't have to just get in orchards. And again, 2008 was the first time it's found in the U.S. 6 years later, every place that's yellow or purple, that's where we found it. That's how fast it spread. Again, talk about your definition of invasive species. They can move around and get established. The last two I'm going to talk about real quickly, we haven't found in Idaho yet. We're watching for them. We don't want them here. This is the Asian longhorn beetle. It kills trees. So we've never found one in Idaho yet. It's showed up in the east and killed tens of thousands of trees so far. Came from Asia. They've had an infestation in Chicago, which they've eradicated. An infestation in California that they've eradicated. An infestation in Massachusetts, Ohio, and New York, and we're still working on trying to get those 3 eradicated. Now this guy, people bring beetles into me and say, I think I found an Asian longhorn beetle. There are beetles around here that look similar to it, so you have to be careful. But again, bring them into me. I'm not going to yell at you if you don't have it. I'll be happy. These are 2 locals that come into me often. This here on the left is the Asian longhorn beetle, and on the right is the white spotted sawyer, which you guys have very commonly around here. And they look really, really similar. The big thing on the Asian longhorn beetle, you see how they're really smooth and shiny black? And the white spotted sawyer is kind of bronze colored and pitted. It's not real shiny like the Asian longhorn beetle. Also, on the white spotted sawyer, you see that white dot up between the wing cases? That's white. And if you look on the Asian longhorn beetle, it's black. So those are the 2 things I ask people if they tell me, I think I got Asian longhorn beetle. Go look for that white dot. Is there a white dot there or a black dot? And look for how shiny it is. And that way you can rule out if it's... So, we haven't found Asian longhorn beetle yet, but it could get here, so we keep our eyes open. And the last guy's the emerald ash borer, which you may have heard about. Really pretty insect, little green, metallic green insect, kills ash trees. First detected in the U.S. 2002, only 12 years ago, in Michigan. In 12 years, it has spread to 23 U.S. states, 2 provinces in Canada, kills ash trees. It's killed tens of millions of ash trees. Tens of millions in 12 years. It came in Michigan, it spread. The closest it's got to us so far is Colorado. It's in Denver, Colorado. So we're watching for it, we're worried about it, because we do have ash trees. Won't feed on mountain ash, but regular ash trees we've got all over downtown Boise. It'll go after those.
Well, now I've had one that looks similar to that that's been on my lilacs. Is that the same thing, or is that something different?
No, that's the tricky part about these invasive insects. With 1 million species of insects in the world, there are always ones that look real similar, especially to the untrained eye.
Yeah.
So if it's on lilac, it's not ash borer. The ash borer would be on ash.
Yeah.
There are several metallic beetles, metallic green beetles that are on various plants around here that are similar.
Okay.
So we have to, so I say, the more eyes we have out there watching for them, sending us specimens or photos, and we can decide that way. So, in conclusion, the State Department of Agriculture has a long tradition of surveying for and responding to outbreaks of insect pests. We work with the U.S. Department of Agriculture. They've got a program especially for invasive species. That's where I get a lot of my grant money from. So they help us. So we're doing our best to try and keep these invasives out of the state. And everything you can do to help us, it's appreciated. So.
might be opening, for example, with the Japanese beetle, what does treatment mean and involve, and what do you?
So for Japanese beetle, if you want a crash course on Japanese beetle, go to the ISDA website. We have a Japanese beetle page, and it's got all kinds of questions and information, because we're dealing with these people that we have to treat. What we have to do is, I said the grubs in the grass, kill the grass. That's what we're trying to treat. Our best bang for the buck is to get the grubs. So we have a granular chemical. It's like putting down fertilizer, and it's the same chemical that people down in Boise are putting down for bill bug anyway. But not everyone's doing it for bill bug, but we really got to kind of blank the area. Every place we found Japanese beetle, we need to go in. We're going into May, we're going into July. You just need to go in your yard, put these granules down, get in the soil, kill the grubs. We don't treat gardens, vegetable gardens. We don't spray trees. They did that the first year to try and get adults, but they didn't find very many adults, and people are a lot more worried about spraying stuff than putting granules down in the soil. So we said, we're just going to stick with the granules in the soil, so that's our treatment plan. And it seems to be working so far. Yes?
But on that, it's a pesticide, basically, that is used? And are there any natural pests to these that can be used?
Nothing that will work.
Oh, okay.
I mean, remember when I talked about insect ecology, I said everything's got natural enemies? Japanese beetle has natural enemies too. But for Japanese beetle, it's so aggressive and so invasive, and it would give us so many problems, it has to be eradicated. It can't just be controlled. And most of all the natural things, a natural enemy like nematodes and parasitic wasps and things like that, they've evolved so that they will attack their host, but not kill them all, because if they kill them all, they'd be extinct, right? So they've evolved to attack their host, but when their hosts get down to a certain level, then they kind of back off or they die back some, so the host can build back up again, so that they can do their cycle over. So Japanese beetle, we have to kill every doggone Japanese beetle that's out there, because they'll keep re-infesting. Remember 56 to 3,000? If we left 3 beetles, 3 years from now, we got 3,000 of them. So any of these natural things, they'll knock Japanese beetle down maybe 20%, 30% at best, and leave 70% to keep repopulating the area. So we've had that, can I use this instead? I'd like to say yes, but if I do, we're just shooting ourselves in the foot. We have to use these pesticides. So we've picked pesticides that we feel, and we've done a lot of research, feel these are the most effective against them, and they're the safest for the environment. And that's the best we can do. And they're very, very safe for vertebrates. When you look at the chemical index of mortality, they're less poisonous to vertebrates than table sulfates. But they're very good against insects that feed in the soil. And then people worry about the pollinators. Is this going to kill the pollinators? Pollinators aren't in the soil. If we were spraying the plants when the pollinators were pollinating, yeah, it would kill them because they're insects. But put the granules down in the soil where pollinators aren't, and you don't even usually have plants in your lawn that are getting pollinated. You've got grass, you see a dandelion, you get rid of it. So,
Does it damage earthworms?
not significantly. I mean, when it rains and the earthworms come out, go in the street and it dries up and they die, I'm sure it's less collateral damage than that. I can't say it won't kill a single earthworm. It might kill some, but I'm betting you less earthworms die from a little bit of chemical we'll put down the lawn than a good rain will bring them up on the street. Yeah, so we try to pick as safe as we can, but again, we're dealing with an invasive pest. We've got to use pesticides against it to kill it. Hopefully we'll get it knocked out in 5 years so that it's gone, eradicated, and then we're done. If we left it and it was there forever, everybody's going to be going to Zamzows. I got Japanese beetles in the rose bushes. I'm buying the stuff, spraying them on the yard, it's blowing into the next person's yard and going in the grass. And how people are reading it, it says, put this on once a year. Well, if once a year is good, then I bet 2 or 3 times will be even better, right? So I think in the long run, our plan's gotta be fixed. So,
Do we have handouts over here?
you have a question, feel free to
And
get handouts.
are those different types of traps?
This is the Japanese beetle trap. If you ever go down to Boise this summer, you'll see 2,500 of these scattered over Boise. I would say you can't swing a dead cat down Boise, I'll get one of these. These traps attract Japanese beetles, and people always call us up and go, "Oh, are those wasp traps?" People think they're wasp traps, or they think they're ashtrays, or they think they're rats. Japanese beetle trap, this is a trap from stink bugs. And like I said, here are flyer pamphlets and stuff, feel free to see those. You have my email address on your thing here. If you have any questions anytime, feel free to email me. If you found something,